Greetings, fellow scribes! Welcome back to the archive. This week, I continue my series on Torg Eternity by talking about the Cosms. Now, as part of the Possibility Wars, each of the High Lords, after establishing their Maelstrom Bridge and in their initial invasion of Earth, the area where they hit first, they established their own reality over those areas, forcing these areas to conform to the rules of the worlds that they were from. These individual different realities butting next to our own reality are the individual cosms. So I'm going to talk briefly about each of them. This is not going to be an in-depth video. I'm basically just going to give a brief overview and talk about the world laws. So sit back, relax, and enjoy as I talk about the Cosms of Torg Eternity. With the start of the Possibility War, 1/4 of the planet has been taken over by the High Lords. 3/4 of it, though, is still what is called Core Earth. Core Earth is sort of our world, but magic exists. Excalibur is out there. And Edenos might run into a Bigfoot right in the borders of Core Earth and Living Land areas. A priest's blessing might actually provide some degree of divine protection. But at the same time, we're talking about a world that's a bit more cinematic. And this is because of the world laws of Core Earth. The first of these is the law of hope. This one boils down to even the most ordinary person has enough creativity that they are generating more possibility energy than even the ordinaries of other worlds, of other cosms. And this is part of why this world is sought so much, because of all the possibility energy that the people of Core Earth generate. The second of the laws of Core Earth is the law of glory. And this basically amounts to Core Earth supports those who take heroic actions. An ordinary person standing up against a dragon or a dinosaur, Core Earth is going to bolster that person. And that's the big thing there. But the third law of Core Earth is the law of the underdog. And that's the whole idea that while heroes can come from any cosm, the Core Earthers are strongest, are luckiest when they're facing long odds. It's a case of, think of all those action movies back from the 80s where the hero's facing an army by himself and he doesn't give in, he doesn't retreat, doesn't flee. That's what the law of the underdog applies to. And it basically gives bonuses when someone is outclassed, outnumbered, outgunned, what have you. And it's said that this world law is what gives the Storm Knights a possibility to save the world from the Reality Raiders. Of course, on the other end of the spectrum, you have the world of Aysle. Aysle. This is a high fantasy world. This world is lower tech and a little bit lower social organization than ours. But their spirit axiom and magic axiom are well above ours. And this means there are wizards, dragons, all sorts of magical things, and clerics and priests. What they do has real impact. Of course, like all the worlds, there are 3 world laws for Aysle. The first law is the law of magic. And that basically boils down to magic is an integral part of the world. The land itself is shaped, manipulated, and all that by supernatural power, not necessarily the laws of physics. And because of this, a caster can put their own energy into casting spells. The law of enchantment is that the magic is so pervasive that it's somewhat wild. And the interesting things is that the law of enchantment, in conjunction with the possibility energy, spontaneously creates powerful magical items. And that's the big thing. It boils down to, when you're doing something, if you roll really, really well, there's a chance that the items you were using or something on you gets spontaneously enchanted in some way, reflecting what you were doing. And the final of the 3 laws is the law of light and darkness. And this boils down to, virtue is a palpable force. Good people radiate their goodness. Bad people radiate their darkness. And this basically means that there are perks and abilities that one can purchase relating to these that will only really work in Aysle. And that's pretty much the short of it. Now, coming across from Aysle, coming across from the British Isles where Aysle is located, to France, the home of the Cyberpapacy, you see that, first off, the Cyberpapacy's axioms put tech very, very high up. It's one of the highest, in fact, for tech of all the different cosms. Magic is a thing here. What's funny is its social, representing social control, is higher than its spirit. And these are the exact flip-flop in rankings from Aysle. So that means priests in the Cyberpapacy have a little less power to them than they would in Aysle. But social control, social manipulation, is much stronger in the Cyberpapacy. And this is because you're basically dealing with a world where you have an evil Catholic Church that has instituted a Big Brother surveillance state. And, oh yeah, dubs anyone who does magic a heretic. And, oh yeah, the people who do magic can also hack. In fact, they're specifically called cyber witches. Yeah. That is what the Cyberpapacy is like. Now, when you get into the world laws, of course, there's the law of heretical magic. What this means is magic is heresy. And so if you don't quite control your magic well, it causes hurt to you, causes injury. Now, of course, the second law is the law of suspicion. And as I said, you're in a surveillance state. And essentially the law of suspicion means that everyone in this world, this cosm, is suspicious of everyone else. And will, of course, those who are loyal to the church will turn people in for rewards. And, of course, those who aid possible enemies have to find ways around the omnipresent surveillance. And, of course, you have the law of the one true way. And this basically is the Cosm itself enforces that the Cyberpapacy, that Cyberpope Jean Malraux, is the only right person. Dogma is broadcast on subliminal channels, in commercials, and just propaganda down the street, and posters, and everything just drums towards adhering to the Cyberpope. Of course, jumping across the Atlantic to North America, you have the Living Land. Now, the Living Land has hit 3 areas in North America. It's hit the area around New York, it's hit the area around the Pacific Northwest, and it's hit the area down in Central America. It's sort of got all 3 areas sort of spread about. And this is overall one of the largest of the cosms. Social control is low. Tech is low, because this is a very primitive land. Magic, it pretty much is not a thing here. But spirit, this is the highest realm for spirit. And this is a world where jungle grows up over the city. The skyscrapers become vine encrusted, overgrown in hours. walking through New York City, you would find cars covered in vines, if you even realize that's what they were. And the people of this world, you are either primitive humans, not really capable of speech as we know it and such, or you are one of the lizard people who bow to the High Lord of Barak-Ka. And these Edenos are the dominant sentient beings on this world. Of course, that's not to say all is in tune. There are those Edenos who do not trust Barak-Ka, who do not worship him, and worship older deities, such as the goddess Lanala, the goddess of life. But you are still dealing with a world bound by its world laws. One of the first of these world laws is the law of wonders. And this boils down to, this isn't the first world Barak-Ka has invaded. And the world will pull things from other worlds that have been invaded. And these things, it could be a old temple, or it could be special items that can work against things here. Either way, it is relics, fantastic, amazing relics that can be found in many of these places. And it's believed that these are the secrets to beating Barak-Ka. Of course, you also have the law of savagery. And this is basically that the world rewards those who embrace their primal instincts. You want to, if you're going to attack something, you don't want to attack it in a cold, clinical manner. You want to attack it savagely and brutally. And the world will reward that. But there's one other law. The law of life. And this is that where the goddess Lanala is prevalent, living things grow bigger. Lanala is the goddess of life, and as such, corpses and other and perishables decay quicker. Plants grow faster. Things grow bigger. And that's basically it. The world is supercharging living things. But of course, you do have to jump back across the ocean. And this should be our last trip over to North America, as we are now going to deal with the rest of the world.